think that, one of the challenges inside the retail business has always been the cost of upgrading technology.
Right.
It's the retailers are buying inventory. That's a very big liability. It depreciates from the moment that you take title to it, and you have to contend with that. And especially now where the consumer is being far more selective as the internet has given them far more choice, that the margins get compressed. And what do? You don't invest in technical infrastructure and evolving, and you don't invest in marketing because that's what you cut. And what people don't realize is by cutting your marketing dollars, you cut your customer funnel, you ultimately die. And by not upgrading your technology, you get stuck in a time of yesteryear when you're unable to conduct commerce with a consumer that has far greater expectations. And so I think that when people look at it as a 12 to 24 month project, they're like, oh my goodness, we need it today. I think a lot of CEOs,
the payoff's forever. Yeah.
And it's a big investment, and it's not a guaranteed return. So I think that alone is scary, and it's a really gating issue for people.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think people miss about the idea of going to microservices or even having the concept of a microservice is first of all, the legacy is there anyway. It's not going anywhere. Like your AS400, your ERP system, like your custom databases, they ain't going nowhere. And they're going to be there for a long time. That's a fact. How do you evolve is the next question. And to evolve with a big bang is a non-starter. No CEO will ever. So like, okay, we're going to delete all that code and we're just going to go to something new. That's not going to happen either.
Right.
On the back of that, like RMW Commerce, we just did some research in the last couple of months that nobody's replatforming. And this is exactly why. And so in the face of those three facts, how do you evolve at all is my question. And viewed from that lens, isn't the mock way the pragmatic way to evolve? Where am I wrong?
I mean, I disagree with you, though, about the database thing that people are sort of married. I think that Google Cloud, BigQuery has made it easier to sort of start there, actually. And I think that, my thesis is your customer data is your business. And if you don't partition it correctly and attribute it correctly and invest in that, it's for nothing. Forget about all these other bells and whistles about personalization and et cetera, et cetera. So it's where you can start. And I think it's accessible. I mean, I remember when I was in New York and Company getting there, and we had made this incredible investment in a Merkle database. And I mean, putting aside the fact that it was built on private label credit cards, stores, and direct mail, talk about prophetic as to like what will come if that's what you're betting on.
Right.
But it was not usable, and it was very, very expensive. And so there are far lighter, easier solutions, even for big enterprise clients. Now you go to Mock and you say, look, if I'm going to begin somewhere and build up, I'm going to have a standard, and I'm going to make an investment, and I'm going to get that investment funded by my executive committee because I'm going to build a use case for it, but it is going to begin with data. So I hate to disagree with you, but I do think that people are willing to take that on, and your Snowflakes and your BigQueries have made it more accessible or easier.
So the Mock has this reputation sometimes of feeling a little bit elitist, right? Because people don't understand it. Is there a way that it could be more accessible or more, at least just understanding within the industry?
I'm too close to this one. I feel like as a developer, it makes sense. But beyond that, I think I'm clear enough to know that 95% of the world doesn't know what a headless is, doesn't know what an API is. And so all the acronyms together even sound more confusing.
Look, I think being elitist isn't bad. I mean, because I think on some level, right, it's a bad connotation. It's like, I'm elitist, but I think that, yeah, of course, when you're charging the amount of money that they're charging to be a member, and there is a vetting process, right? Yeah, I don't think you can just sort of put your dollars down and get in. It isn't that type of a situation. But yeah, I think there are some technologies that probably would make sense being part of it and would be greatly benefited by it, but that's just too much money for them. So of course there are going to be the people out there saying it's elitist, but you have to have a standard. You have to draw a line. And again, I think that when people call something elitist, I think they do so because there's some level of jealousy because there's value.
There's a, yeah.
Yeah, there's a need there.